Alrighty, so welcome back from the challenge. One sec here. Again, whenever I go in the breakout rooms, it screws everything up for me.
Forward with no positive breast cancer is overwhelming, but I never just found my way. I needed and did all I could.
Oh, I got somebody unmuted with some background noise. Thank you. All right. All right, so welcome back from the high score challenge. Just get this one set up here. We'll go over it. And then I think because we finished a little bit early on this one, we should be able to get one more challenge in for the night. I don't know if we'll be able to do both the group and my overview. So either I'll just lead it or we'll get as far as we can go and then we'll cover the solution on Monday. All right, so write a method that takes in an integer array of student test scores and returns only the highest score. All right, so we've got one parameter, which is going to be an array of numbers, which are test scores, right? And we are going to return one thing, which is a number representing the highest test score. All right, so we've got some examples below. All right, so I am going to need to isolate each score and examine what the value is. Before that, I'm going to declare a variable that is my highest, that holds the value of my highest score. All right, then I'm going to isolate each score and examine what the value is and if it is higher than the existing high score. If it's higher, I will make it the new high score. If it isn't higher, I will do nothing with that score and continue to iterate. Once I've looped all the way through my array, will return the high score. All right. And so here we are. Let's go ahead and make sure we're getting what we think we are. So let's take a look at console.log student scores. All right. And there's my array. I get false. And there's my array and I get false because I'm not returning anything yet. And so we're going to say we need a high score. So we'll say let high score equal, we can just say equal 0 for right now. And we're going to return our high score. All right. So with this, we need to loop through our array to check all the values here. So we can say for let I equal 0, I less than student scores dot length, I plus plus. All right, and let's go ahead and make sure that we're pulling each individual student score by doing this. And we are. All right, so now we need some conditional logic here, right? And so we need to see if this score is higher than this score, right? And if so, we need to take some action. If it's not, we don't need to do anything. So all we need here is an if statement. I don't really need an else case for this because either it's going to be higher and we're going to take action, or it's not higher and I'm not going to be taking any action. Sorry, 1 second. And I just noticed that my camera is off. I apologize for that. And go. Let's move everyone back into a grid view. Cool. Sorry about that. All right. So if student scores I is greater than high score, we can now say high score is equal to student scores I. And if it's not, we will just move past it and continue in our loop. So if we do something like this, or run, right, and we get true and true. So like I said, this one was honestly a little bit easier than the camel case one. And this would be the solution using a for loop. If I wanted to solve this one using a couple of built-ins, we could skip the loop altogether. So like if I was looking to do this as a, like I said, something in production, I would probably sort. So let's go ahead. This, we'll comment it out for right now. And we can delete all of this. And so we could take a look here. So we could say console.log student scores, right? And so if we run this, we get the whole thing here. And in array, we have something, a built-in function called .sort. So you say array.sort mdn, right? And this method sorts the elements of an array in place and returns the reference to the same. And if we look down here in syntax, we've got just plain sort, and then we've got compare function. And so if I just do this as a dot sort, and let's take a look at what we get here. We're sorting these in smallest to largest. And I would prefer, because I don't know the length of these, I could always do, as far as like an index position, I could always do student scores dot length -1. But to write something like that, I would have to do student scores dot length -1. And so that's fairly large. What I would most likely do here is, so that I can sort these in the correct order, is that compare function is what we call a callback function. And so any of you that have been experimenting with built-ins yet, whenever you have a anonymous function, so you've got this fat arrow right here, and you're not naming the function anything, you're just giving it some params. This is an anonymous function, it's a callback function. And so we can do a minus b in here. And actually, I don't need these curly braces. So let's bring this back up to one line. All right, and let's see what we get here. All right, so this is still smallest to largest. So let's go ahead and flip this to b minus a, and let's see what happens. Now we're going from largest to smallest. Right, and so now we could console.log that sort, and we could do this box 0, and we get 92 and 97. We can pop this out of the console.log. This. All right, and we get true, true. So this is what I'm hoping to see from you as far as solutions. Like I said, drilling into getting good with your for loops and why you would be doing it. And this is, like I said, this would also work. But if you don't know how a sort function works, and then being able to add in a comparison callback function inside of the sort, right? Like, this is what gets you into code Platoon. This is, you've been doing this for a while and you're writing production code. So either one of these is fine. But like I said, when in doubt, solve it with that for loop, solve it with that while loop. Like, that's your bread and butter right now. Any questions about how I solved this either way? All right, so let's go ahead and look at one more challenge here. Let's see here. That was high score. Last four social doesn't really do much. 2 strikes. Let's take a look at that. That's got some looping in it. Okay, so this is a really good one, but I don't know. Like, this one would probably be something we'd lead off on Monday, because this one will probably take 25 to 30 minutes to solve, which will put us right up around 9 o'clock. So if you want to work on this till the end of class, we can. If not, I can pick one that'll be a little bit more succinct. Last 4 does. Yeah, this one is pretty much just that. Yeah, this one won't be a bad one. This one has a little bit of a twist in it. So let's go ahead, split back into the groups. We're going to tackle last 4, and then I'm going to give you about 18 minutes to tackle that, and then we'll come back into class and we'll spend the last couple minutes going over a solution. So any questions for me before I split the class out? All right, everyone, welcome back from the last 4 social challenge breakout. There was 2 ways to solve this, one with a loop, one without using a loop and just using some built-ins. We're going to go over both versions here real quick. Again, one kind of gives us some practice on iteration looping. The other one would be a more reasonable solution, like if we were doing this in real production code. So let's go ahead and console.log our variable and see that we're getting what we expect. And we are. And also go through the prep here real quick. So we have one parameter, which is a 9-digit number that represents a social security number. We need to return one string that represents the last 4 digits, right? And we have to use a string with this, because if we don't use a string, we would lose our leading zeros, right? So if we have a number, so if I do console.log 0156, even though I typed that 0 in there, and hopefully Replit doesn't laugh at me, but it should chop that off. right? So in fact, even past that, it gave me 110 for some reason, which again is going to go into the way that JavaScript does math. And I don't know why it converts it to 110 off the top of my head. I'm sure we could look it up. But again, no leading zeros in a number. All right, so we know that we need to convert this to a string, right? So we can do toString, right? And now it's in white. We know we've got that. And if we were going to go ahead and we want to grab the last 4 digits and we're going to loop through this to do this, we could do, technically we don't have to split it to an array, but I'm going to just for illustration on this one. So now we have the array of individual digits. And so we could say, let R, or we'll call it array of security equals this. Right, and let's do a result array. Equals this. And so we could then say for let I equal 0, I less than array social security dot length I plus plus, and let's go ahead and take a look at this. We'll say console.log array of social security I, and we can run this, right? So we're getting the whole thing. So we only need the last 4 digits, right? So if we start counting at 4, that's the last 5 digits. If we start counting at 5, there's these. So those are the last 4 right there. So I could take this out of the console.log, and we could say push. Oops, sorry. We're going to do results dot push this, and this is going to add it to the end, right? And so if we take a look now at results, right, 0, 1, 5, 6, 8, 3, 5, 7, those are looking pretty good. So dot join on every character, get it out of that array, 0, 1, 5, 6, 8, 3, 5, 7, 0, 7, 6, 9. So we can bust this out of our console.log again, move it into a return statement. And we get our true, right? So that's how we would solve this using a loop. And if we want to do it the more direct way without a loop, it gets a lot easier, quite honestly, right? So we could go ahead and do console.log social security, right? And we see the whole thing. There it is. Dot toString. We've got that. And now that we have a string, what are some ways, what are some of the built-ins that you guys use to finish this off?
You could probably just use a slice.
Yep. All right. And so if I start slicing at 1, right, I chop off the first number. So let's bump this up to 4. I'm getting the last 5 digits. So let's put this at 5. Right, there's the last 4 digits. We can bust this out of the console.log. And we get our truths, right? So this, using built-ins, much easier than this, right? So again, different ways to end up with the same result. This one, a lot less work. And it is 8:57, so we've got 3 minutes left. Were there any other questions about how this was solved either way? Did anyone solve it a third way or use a different built-in besides slice? I'd be curious to hear about that, but it is the end of class, so fire away with any random questions you've got. If not, I'll go ahead and turn off the recording, and then we can have an additional QA session if you need one. Anyone got anything before I turn the recording off? Okay.